Joining us right now, Wes. I know you can't see because you're not on the screen with us here. The caption we have for you here is Wes Rea has as many triples as stolen bases.
That's a heck of a stat to open up with, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that stolen base is one of the all-time great moments in Bulldog baseball. I put it up there with Elijah McNamee, Burke Masters, any of them.
Yeah, I got some buddies that I see that replay from time to time. It's a pretty good one.
Wes, obviously you had, you were on the team that went to Virginia in 2013 and won that Super Regional to advance to Omaha. You had two of the biggest plays in that Super Regional, that massive home run, which may or may not still be traveling deep into the trees there at Virginia. But I think people forget that final out and the defensive play you had to make sometimes. You talk us through that final out, and I remember you telling Jonathan Holder, "I got you" at the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, a play that you're never really ready for, that just kind of happens and you hope you're prepared. And it's just something that you pray that it finds your glove, and it did, but that was definitely a big out for sure.
Wes, you played in regionals on the road and you played in regionals, at home. Is there, obviously you'd prefer to be at home and be in front of your crowd, but is there something to the idea that playing on the road sort of can take the pressure off a team sometimes?
I think so, absolutely. A lot of that pressure's off, I mean, when you're at home and, you're really fired up, Duty Noble's about to fill up, I mean, there's definitely some added nerves there that are not there when you're on the road. I think you're able to maybe take a little of that pressure off and focus a little bit more when you're on the road, and hopefully that's what we can do this weekend.
You've had a chance to watch this team this year. One of the things one of the comments I made throughout the year was the similarities to the 2014 team, a team that probably lost a couple of games it shouldn't have lost, and that's what ended up costing it a hosting spot. When you've watched this team this year, do you see some similarities between that team or any other team that you played on here at Mississippi State?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest difference this year with this team is they've just found an identity and they found a role, and there's been a set lineup they can look forward to every day and get ready for, and they kind of know what guys are going to fall into what position, and that's the biggest thing, especially in big games, big situations. Your team's ready for those moments because that guy's been in that situation a bunch that season, or that bullpen guy's been in that situation a lot that season, and I think that's really prepared this team more so than teams in the past, and I think that's a lot of, very similar to the teams that we had. We had a lot of guys that were in the position and ready for it, so I'm excited to see what this team can do.
Obviously, you were a hitter, but the biggest part of this season, the turnaround, I think, is what's happened with the pitching staff. When you see what Justin Parker has been able to do with this staff and how much better they are than a season before, what is it that pitching coaches are doing that can make that big of a change?
Man, I tell you guys, I walked into our pitching lab, and it is just so much more advanced than when we were there even, 14 years ago. I mean, the technology they have and they're using for spin rate, I mean, those guys are getting fed data after every single pitch that we had no clue it even existed, just 12, 14 years ago. So I'm sure a lot of that's contributing to it. It sounds like they've totally bought into all the new analytics of that side of the game. And like I said, I mean, these guys have just gotten confident and, found their role in the bullpen and really settled in. I think that's what really drives the pitching staff. They know what to expect every single weekend. They're ready for it mentally. So he's done a hell of a job, though, for sure.
Not that you had a lot of slumps when you were playing at Mississippi State, but you've watched Hunter Hines and you've watched Dakota Jordan these past couple weekends, and they're just not feeling it right this second. As a hitter, when do you realize that you're in a slump?
Oh man, I tell you what, it reminds me of Lane Burroughs, who I was really close with during my time there, and he recruited me in high school. I can remember freshman year going through a tough time. A freshman in this league is not easy. There's some big time arms in this league. And he just really broke it down from a standpoint of saying, man, you got to look at it like this. This is a short season. We're playing 50 to 60 games. Some of those guys were in like a, 0 for 40, 1 for 40 stretch. That's only a week, 8 days of baseball. in the big leagues. You know, when you're playing 30 games a day, you look at any big leaguer and can say, man, they can have a weak slump and it not even phase them. So you just got to tell yourself, you know, hey, these are some big-time arms. This happens to the best in the world, and I just got to keep getting ready to go to the park and swing it every day.
I remember a couple of years ago there was a clip of Pete Rose talking about when you're in a slump that, you know, change where you sit in the batter's box, change maybe something. Don't ever change your swing because your swing is what got you to this point. As a player, you know, what do you do in the cage? What are you doing in the film room when you're in a slump to try to get out of it?
And I was a guy, I really didn't try to change my swing. You know, I think what you said, spot on. You know, when you're not seeing the ball and you're in a slump like that, you're really just not seeing the baseball. You know, everything about hitting is revolved around you seeing the spin of that baseball. And when you're not seeing it like those guys have been, you know, you just can't see it. It looks like a white blob coming at you, and you don't know where it's going. You know, so the biggest thing is just trying to get comfortable and seeing that baseball again. And those guys took some big swings this week in the regional, so hopefully that lights a fire under them. They're seeing it better, ready to go for this regional.
And is it just as simple to come out of it as if you get a hit, if you just run into a ball and get a hit, does that sometimes snap things back into focus for you?
Absolutely. You know, like anything, just get you back in the rhythm. You know, anything. You know, a lot of coaches will try hit and runs just to get you in a mind frame of, hey, I'm swinging at this pitch, to take all the guesswork out of it. And, you know, there's all kind of little things you can try in the games. But like I said, I mean, those guys took a few big swings this week, so I think they're starting to see it a little bit better.
Wes, when you think back to your time at Mississippi State, obviously a lot of great memories, and you had that great run to Omaha there. Is there one moment, is it the Virginia home run that stands out above all else for you?
As far as moments, yeah, well, obviously that's a big one. You always remember the home runs, but and really just the run and that team and that entire year, you know, just experiencing making it to that final game and our fan support and seeing how awesome they are. You know, that's what you really look back on and remember.
One more thing for you, Wes, before we get out of here. And you know, if we embarrass you on this one, well, it's just going to have to be that way. But we have a listener here who had a question for you. His name is Gibbon Greenwood. And he asked if you've ever caught a tire on your boat prop.
Oh, man. No, sir, I have not. I believe Gib Ellis from Greenwood is the only human that I've ever seen catch a tire on a boat prop. Yes, sir.
So,
before I leave up, I got to give a shout-out to my Dicamba dogs. That's a good group from the Delta. So
yeah, I think we have some mutual friends in that group, Wes,
yes,
as well as that. So, obviously, you know, in Charlottesville this weekend, and then in Fayetteville next weekend for the Diamond Dogs. If they head back to Omaha, am I going to see Wes Rea there?
Absolutely, I wouldn't miss this one for the world. You know, I wasn't able to make it that last trip, and probably one of my biggest regrets of my entire life. So I don't think I'll miss another one.
When you think about that 2013 team, I mean, some of those guys are still, you know, doing their thing in the majors. It's fun to look back at that team because, you know, during the regular season, y'all were a good team. But I don't think we realized at the time just how talented that roster was top to bottom.
Yeah, it kind of came into its own. You know, that was kind of that recruiting class's junior year where you really grow into who you are as a player, and it was awesome. I think we got up to 9 or 10 guys in the big leagues off that roster, which is, I think, tied for a record, but pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
What Mississippi State loves to push the family thing, and with the former Diamond Dogs, you know, on average, how many of your former teammates and how many former MSU baseball players do you talk to in a week?
Oh man, it's a large portion of them. You know, we got a group message with Fantasy League still rolling. You know, I would say a group of 15 to 20 of us probably keep up pretty much weekly. You know, and got all the fantasy and brackets and all that going and keep up through that, weddings and things. But it was a real special group. We definitely keep up with most of them.
Have you ever thought about getting into coaching?
I don't think so. The hassle these guys are having with this NIL stuff now is absolutely crazy. I don't think I'd like that hassle.
What Starkville restaurant would you have had an NIL deal with?
That's a good question. I would probably have to go with the Grill. Shout out to my guy Terry at the Grill. He's not there anymore. I think he's at Walk-Ons, but they always took care of us.
I know Terry. Yeah, you're correct. He is there now, but that's a good guy, really good guy there. Sir. So, oh well, Wes Rea, appreciate the time, appreciate the stroll down memory lane. Hope to see you again soon, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, I appreciate you guys. Good dogs.
Wes Rea, former